Hello everybody, my name's Andy, this is my channel Modeloco for all things model railway, and today this is a bit of a bolt-on video to my full review of the new Hornby Ultimate Black 5 with steam generator, lit lamp codes and the rest. Is it the ultimate model? I think it is. But there again, if you want to watch that review, go look for Modeloco ml60 on YouTube. This is ml60b and it's a bit of a follow-up about hidden features. But before we get on to that, there was one thing in the review that I was looking at, and that was CV211. When your steam generator doesn't pump out the steam as much as you'd like it to, or it stops steaming. A few people have had issues with that. I live in a soft water area, 5 miles up the road. It's harder water, meaning it's probably got more salts and minerals in it, but I filter my water anyway with a rather expensive Berkey water filter. If you want to do that, if you want to use distilled water, it's fine, but Hornby have said no, as long as it's not sewage water or anything stupid like that. Tap water, it's okay. People sort of get their way around it and you'll find your way through. But going to CV211, it has a range of 0 to 127. I thought in the review I was up in mine to 143. It was just a figment of my imagination. I couldn't go over 127. Now I look at the manual, even if I tried. And it was probably just bedding in, but it did seem to help at the time as I tweaked those settings. I've now got it set around 120. All my three models are steaming. I've got a P4 and I've got a Flying Scotsman, and I had to tweak CV211 on the Flying Scotsman and bring that down to 60. If you want to try it on your Black 5, bring that CV211 down to 60 and see how you go. They're all a little bit different and they all have little quirks. And yes, the Prince of Wales has a Kyle Chap exhaust and an interchangeable smokestack insert to make the outlet even larger. It also has to be said at this point that the new Black 5 with steam generator has been given a larger diameter chimney outlet to most likely enable the water vapours to clear the smokestack more efficiently and effectively and stop what I call that bridging effect causing intermittent smoke, where you've got to dab the top or alter CV to 11, you know, the general gist. Also, John Cross team on the comments under my initial review brought to my attention that the water feed clack casing has been moved, which I never mentioned and never really saw. I was in awe at all the rest and the smoke and everything. And even though I put the two models side by side, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now, is this correct, or do we think that Hornby moved this because originally it was, as I mentioned, going to be the water filler plug? I always thought that was the place it was going to be, but obviously it's behind the smoke box door and there's the lamp as well. So if they had to get in to get that LED, then maybe they thought, well, let's do it like the P2. Possibly re-engineered and designed because people complained a little bit about the Flying Scotsman water filler plug idea. But to be honest, I don't mind, well, once you get used to it, that is, and if you don't lose it. Also, John questioned the decal on the side of the tender. Is this correct or not to go with this model or this specific era? Or is it, again, poetic license once more? Let me know in the comments. All good stuff, but worth a mention when we're saying ultimate. Yes, I still think it's the ultimate model. And yes, you might have to have a play around with CV211 to just hit that sweet spot for your model and the sort of water you're putting in. But hey, think positive. If it doesn't work on day one, the next day you might come to it and it'll all run perfectly. Just like our layouts. One day you can be just having gremlins all day long, you know, where your points are always stopping your trains, your frogs are always tripping your controller, and your coaches are always derailing. Then another day you come in to your layout, turn it on, and it runs like silk. And all those leprechauns, as I like to call them, simply fly out of the chimney. Now this is a splash screen about the motion controls. It's something that I would normally change within my controller, but with the HMDCC app, it adopts the Hornby convention regarding motion control. The left-hand arrow allocated to forward and the right-hand arrow is allocated to reverse. And this causes me all sorts of issues based on standing at a UK station that a train always approaches from the left, like our UK roads. But when I'm doing this tutorial, I'm sat in front of the layout, opposite the platform that I'm looking at. So I want to see the direction of forward to be on the right, not on the left, because I've never stood on a platform when modelling. And so I've added forward and reverse onto buttons for this video so you don't get confused either. Now, let's get back to the hidden features. And if you're confused about this little anomaly, then at least you know why it's done this way now. Physical functions on page 2, and we can turn the steam on and off if we so wish. You know, we can put our lights on as well and our sound as we do. We get it operating. And for me, it seems to be, although it's listed as function 23, for me it seems to be function 24. I'm just trying it now. That's function 23 and the steam's still on. So yeah, that could be a blip on the manual. Mess around with that and you can turn the steam off. Now, I like working with Digitracks and the Wii app, for instance, because if we look here, I've got, even though I can't name them unless I go onto some Windows software, I know where I stand. I know forward is definitely up. There's no confusion about it, you know? So I can bring the Black 5 backwards. There's no confusion. Yeah, bring my Scotsman back. There's no confusion. I can turn the sound on. Can turn the sound off on each of them. And there was that confusion, wasn't there, about which function it is that turns the steam on and off. Well, here it's clearly labelled and I can see that function 24, not function 23, turns the smoke on and off. Yeah, you're going to pay about a tenner for the Wii throttle, then there's about 75 quid for the gadget to connect it to the Digitracks control centre. If that's the way you want to go, then it's a great little system. It doesn't seem to get as confused with all multiple Bluetooth decoders running on one app, for instance, and when it does disconnect, it connects a lot quicker. That being said, it ain't free. And one final thing is, I've got all three trains on one screen. I can even add a fourth here if I wanted to add a mallard or a shunter. And I can tell which is forward and which is reverse. And when you're running quite a few trains at once, yeah, get them all set up on your HMDCC app with the Bluetooth and then put them over to DCC mode and run them on the Wii throttle. That's sort of where I'm at the moment with it, because I can get straight to the loco I want. The only downside that I can find with this system at present is the fact that I can't label the address numbers without having Windows software. And yes, if you're not already invested into the Digitracks sort of ethos, then it is going to cost you quite a few bucks. But it might be something you want to consider in future, the Z21 as well. Another top tip from Modeloco here, and thanks to John Armitage for giving me the heads up, because you know what it's like, you get a new model, there's a lot to look at, a lot to see, and we don't always pay close attention to the finer details. Now, we can see that we have got a rear light that we can turn off on page 1, and I'll just knock the sound off again. So we turn the sound off and we can press that on and off. But we might not be always pulling coaches, or we might have different scenarios. So if we put the light on here, turn the sound back on, it doesn't need to be on, but that's all right, and hit function 21 and then put it in forward, we get a red light on the back. Isn't that incredible? So then we can back up, and fair enough, when we go to pull out of the station, we can either turn that light off if we're pulling coaches, or put it on if we're not. Isn't that fantastic? Don't you think? Top tips from Modeloco. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe for all things model railway. And don't forget John Armitage for putting that little tip forward to me. What a great little unknown that is. I think that's fabulous. Yeah, I think that's really good. So it's either off, on, or in white. You can choose. Awesome stuff.
So long for now, we'll be seeing you when Casey comes rolling by again with a steaming powder and a smoking.
So what do I think then? My third steam generator model.
And the rest of the crew in a thrilling adventure that's a lot of fun. When Casey takes the throttle for another run. Casey Jones, Steven and a rolling. Casey Jones, you never have to guess.
Look
When
at
you
that.
hear a tooting of the whistle, it's a Casey at the throttle of the Cannonball Express. Casey Jones, Steven and a rolling. Casey Jones, you never have to guess. When you hear a tooting of the whistle, it's a Casey at the throttle of the Cannonball Express.